Whoa. Hey.
We've got people living on the street, leaders bound to the elite, and it makes me sad. But what is there that we can really do? We're all puppets wearing masks. You'll be fat if you don't get vaxxed. And there's violence in every city that I come to. Are leaders even on our side? Are they just trying to cover their eyes? I think it's time we take our freedom back before it's too late.
Amen to that. Holy cow. We have Jeremy Wayne Mckern on the line, and that song was Take Our Freedom Back. You released that song, you said, last year when you came down here on tour to Texas for the first time?
Yeah, it was just this last November, right before I came down there. It was released out to all the streaming platforms and out to radio. Yep.
Are you looking forward to coming back to Texas?
Absolutely. What's that?
Do you guys have like an estimated like window frame you think you're coming when you're gonna plan for that?
Well, I'm hoping to come back this year. There's I still want to play up there at the Stockyards and some other places. I've had some invites, so just trying to work it out into our schedule. We've got the next few months pretty well booked up, but then maybe September, October, we'll see what happens.
Well, that'd be a good time to come to Texas after the heat wave kind of like settles down a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, it was hot. It was like about over 100 degrees before May, I think, this year. It's been a fun one.
I know. I was actually down in Carlsbad, New Mexico, which is not too far from Texas, and I was there for a week, and it was well over 100, and it was pretty hot for sure.
It's such a different heat in different areas. It's wild, the contrast, because like 90 degrees in Texas and 90 degrees in Oregon are two different things.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to say just the difference between up there in New Mexico where I was at versus down along the Gulf Coast where you got that insane, crazy humidity. You know, I used to work in oil and gas down around Houston, and I'm pretty familiar with the crazy hot that you got down there.
Oh, Houston is like a sauna. Like it feels to me like a bunch of old grimy men are sitting around breathing heavy. Like it's gross. It's like you can feel it on your skin. Houston. I went down there. I think I'm gonna stick to going if I to the TCMA shows in Fort Worth, because Houston was way worse than Fort Worth. I mean, you got to think that that's, a ways further south, and that's like probably a 15-20 degree difference in the factor.
Yeah, for real.
Oh man, down there by the coast, by the air, like all that.
Oh yeah, I like going. Is it Kemah, and then down to Galveston. I like to go down the coast there. It's nice down there.
Oh, we went down to Galveston. I think it might have been 2 summers ago, and we ate at a really nice. I can't remember what the place was called, but it was a really nice diner, and we were like those jerks that came in 15 minutes before closing time and ordered food because we'd been out on the water all day. Yeah. And that was like our second dinner because we had been out on the water all day. and they had these deep fried deviled eggs. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I've never seen them anywhere else, and I still haven't seen them anywhere else, but they're
Well,
delicious.
my favorite, one of my favorite restaurants is down in I think it's Kima, but it's called T-Bone Tom's, and they have the best chicken fried anything in the world that I've ever had, and that place is just killer. So
Oh,
if you're ever
well,
down there, you got to hit that place.
heck yeah. I mean, have you, okay, so you have chicken fried in Oregon. That's a thing there? Or,
Well, yeah, we do, but you know, it's like you got to really hunt to find the good places if you want something that's authentic, that's hand breaded and all that, and with like the real home style country gravy and all that. So um,
so how
they
many Texas chicken fried places have you been to?
oh
Or
gosh, lots. Yeah,
is that
it's
your
it was
main go-to for while you're down here?
well, it's one of the things. It just like when I go to Nashville, I'm really like keyed in on the Nashville hot chicken scene. Like that's my thing. But in Texas, yeah, I do like the all the fried stuff in Texas, the chicken fried steak and just fried chicken and all that good stuff. I know it's probably going to piss some people off, but I'm more of a Carolina barbecue than a Texas barbecue guy. Texas barbecue is not really my thing, but but that's just me.
Oh, goodness. Hey, we do have some listeners out in North Carolina, so I'm sure that they will appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I
Uh,
just like a little bit more of the sweet heat versus the just the heat, which is more the Texas style barbecue. So
right? And that's me. Like I think when like if you're talking about when I get drugged to like a corporate like the Asian zinger, like the sweet but spicy is that's
exactly,
definitely for that's where I go. And
that's my spot.
I remember being in Florida, and there's like a lot of food trucks that do like the turkey leg and beans and greens. And I remember I would always like whenever we went to the barbecue place, I would always take the sweet and the spicy, and I would mix them together on my thing. I'm like, I don't know why they're not like this anyway.
Yeah, well, and that's what I like too. So we're in the same boat there.
I want to hear this song. Did you tell the story behind the song Take Our Freedom Back?
No, but I will. I will. So it's kind of funny. My the story of how I got kind of started in music. I retired from the Navy back in 20. I retired from the Navy fully in 2021, but back in during COVID, uh, we weren't able to travel, and I work in mining, and I'm a business development manager, and so my day job is that I sell gas monitoring systems to underground mines. So during COVID, we couldn't travel, couldn't go anywhere, so I got stuck at home. So I bought myself a guitar, and there was only one little bar in town, which was called the Honky Tonk Bar and Grill, that was actually still open and doing anything, and they had karaoke there. So one of my friends now, well, now friend, I just kind of met him, but the owners and the staff, the Honky Tonk Bar and Grill, well, this guy by the name of Sean Doherty, which I'm going to call him out because we're playing at his venue this weekend on Saturday. Um, he's like, why don't you just get up there and sing us a song? He's like, none of us are going to go to frickin' Nashville. Don't worry about it. And I was like, all right, fine. I was kind of scared because I never sang in public before and I never really thought about doing that. Well, I did some karaoke. People liked it. And I started singing and writing my own songs. And over the next year, I put together a band and we started touring. But all that happened kind of during COVID. And the whole story behind the song was basically I was sitting just really kind of getting a little bit upset with our government and the way that they were responding to things. And, it's like, we got one more week to flatten the curve, and then it was we got a month to flatten the curve, and then it was 6 months, and it was a year, and I'm like, you know what, this is frustrating. So I decided to write a song about all the things that I saw that our country was kind of steering down the wrong direction, and what I feel like is the wrong direction, at least. I'm sure there's some people who disagree with me, and that's fine. They're allowed to, but it's really just kind of my views on the state of the union and the state of our country, and so yeah, it's a little bit political, you know. It talks about mass. It talks about the homeless population that we've got littering the streets and how we're not taking care of them. It talks about the wars that are getting started overseas, and then brings it all back and says, you know, like, when are we going to stand up and take our freedom back and stop letting this government just keep running us through the ringer on this stuff? So that's kind of the story behind that, how that song came about. You know, I'm a proud military veteran, and I really love this country, and I want to see us successful in the future, you know. So that's kind
Yeah,
of how that.
absolutely, and not just for the big guy. Like it's a rough life out there, man, for sure. Like
Yeah.
just the from the top down, it's definitely a trickle down effect, and it's sad to see when you see it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out. Shout out. We have Kyler Sullivan music listening. He said chicken fried and organs. Love it. We lived near Supply, North Carolina for a while. The local butcher there had some great meat selections.
Awesome. And you know, I used to. It's funny. This is actually funny that he mentioned that because it's not to do with the meats down there, but when I was up until I think I was about 7 or 8, we lived in Charleston, South Carolina, and it's kind of funny because here in Oregon, people will go like, "You sing with an accent." I'm like, "Well, it's natural, and yes, it probably sounds funny to you because I live up here in Oregon, and you know a lot of that accent's gone. But whenever I write songs and I sing, I automatically fall right back into when I was living down south in South Carolina, or there in Charleston, which I used to make fun of my mom when I was younger. She'd get on the phone with her friends back down there, and I'd go, "Mom, why do you talk like that? Like you don't talk like that ever until you get on the phone with your friends down in South Carolina." And then she just turned into a total, you know, hillbilly redneck, just like the rest of us. And I always thought that was funny. And oh yeah, I wanted to say on that take our freedom back. It may not resonate with everybody, but it definitely resonated with the crew down there in Texas, because that song went to my first radio single, and it went to number 19 on the Texas Internet Radio chart during that time, and it stayed in the top like 35 for a long time.
Didn't we use your song as a mission statement for North Texas Warrior Golf Association?
I think you might have. I know that Mark Sebi with what is it with his radio station used my song on a video thing that he was doing for something like that, and I don't know if that was what it was or not, but
Yeah, I want to go ahead and play their commercial really quick. I guess that was not the full commercial. Anyway, that's
that's
their
okay.
logo and their little clip. They are a nonprofit in the Dallas Fort Worth area that do rehabilitative and social integration therapy and counseling with combat wounded veterans. And we do a lot to support them and help those guys out. Like just a $200 donation sends two guys out for a whole 8 hours of therapy and fellowship and counseling, and it's really a good thing. They've been around for over a decade, and still they have never had. And their mission is zero suicides. With the amount of veteran suicides that there are, they have never had one, and statistically, that's like improbable. So we do what we can to support that crew, and they're really a crew of amazing guys. They're really down to earth, just cool guys. They participate and carry the load, and they do a lot to raise awareness that we should honor and respect our soldiers every day. And I think that the fact that we're not even honoring and respecting ourselves and living right by our neighbor, we need to start there so that we can honor and respect our soldiers and appreciate what they did. Like this world is wild, and we need people to write that, like you, to write songs like that to remind us that we need to be mindful of the direction that we're going.
Yeah. Well, it's not released yet, but I actually did write a song which is called "Hard to See the Stars." It's going to be one of the next couple releases, and it's a song that I dedicated to my father, but also veterans everywhere that are coming back with PTSD. There's that statistic out there, 22 a day of veterans that take their own lives due to PTSD and other issues coming back from war. And that number's been 22, but it's actually closer to 40 or 50 now. Is I
Yeah,
think the
it's
latest
statistically
statistic.
rising. I think that they said by like 20 or 30%. I haven't looked at
Yeah,
the stats lately,
yeah,
but
it's
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 ridiculous.
it's really sad, and I wrote that song to bring awareness. So I do have an older version of that song released if anybody wants to listen, that I produced myself. But I did a full studio production on the new album. I should say myself and my band. We did a full studio production on the new album of that song, and I think it's one of my favorites off the album, absolutely. And the folks that I've had listen to it have said that that's a good one. It's the one when I play it live that I get the most people in the front with tears in their eyes, because that one's very it's a sad song. But yeah, I love our military. I'm retired military myself, and I really don't think our government's doing a very good job of taking care of our military veterans. The VA is kind of a mess. It's slow.
Well, and PTSD, like that's something that I've I've joked around my whole life because I've always been edgy, and I've always joked around that, oh, I have PTSD for every reason there is to have PTSD. I have lived. And the joke became not very funny a couple months ago. And let me tell you that it's terrifying. Like, you can just be like, I was more at peace than I had been in quite a while, and yet my body was completely shutting down.
Yeah,
Like, I was terrified that I was going to die. I
I
got
actually
down to
remember.
113 pounds, my blood pressure, like just talking this much, I'd be like stroke level. I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I
And
actually remember having a conversation with you about that about must have been about a month or two ago. Yeah.
oh, and I was like, I sounded erratic because I was terrified and my blood pressure was out of control. And the doctors kept saying they didn't want to do anything to give me anything for my blood pressure because they didn't want to ruin my perfect health. I'm just stressed out. But man, it was me finding someone to finally give me something for my blood pressure. And it's a blood pressure medicine that's not for blood pressure, it's for anxiety. And
Yeah.
basically, it's a neuro blocker. My brain is in flight and fight mode, and what I experienced in those couple of months was my brain was frozen. Like, I would literally look, and I know all these things that I needed to get done, but I would look at them and I wouldn't be able to process how to do them. Like, I just
Oh yeah.
stared
I
what I
I
had to do.
get that. I'm actually diagnosed with PTSD through the VA, and I know exactly what you're talking about. Um,
Well, I mean, add that on top of dyslexia and ADD, and
yeah, I was actually going
it's
to
a
say
whole day,
between
man.
between my PTSD and my ADHD, I'm. It's funny. I'm walking around here doing stuff, and I'll be like, "Oh, I got to go do laundry." But on the way to the laundry basket, I see a dish that is in the sink, so I stop to do that, and then I forget that I had laundry that I'm doing. Like, it's a mess for sure.
Oh yeah,
Thank thank
for
thank God,
sure.
thank God, music. I can remember all my lyrics because if I
Right. And
couldn't do
well,
that
that's
one.
why it's a good therapy for so many people, not even just the people writing it and performing it, but the people listening to it as well. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
universal language and universally it bonds all of us.
Yeah, I
Um,
would say that like the music is, when at the end of the day when I step on stage and we're playing music, like everything else goes away. So it is very therapeutic because when I'm up there, it's just all about the music and feeling it, and all the other stuff just kind of goes away at that point. So I would totally agree
well,
with you on that.
I mean, it probably helps that you have lights blaring in your eyes and you can't see anything.
Um, Yeah, I mean a little bit, but
I'm
really it's
kidding.
just like I talk to my bandmates, and I have like my I have a pre-show routine. Basically, the full day before the show, I don't talk to anybody. I get up in the morning, I get my coffee, I start drinking some tea, I do this water thing, and then I try to sit and be quiet and just kind of rest my mind and quiet myself down, because I get super crazy like thoughts in my head. How's the show gonna go? Are we gonna do this? Do I have the sound good? Is the lighting good? Like all these things go through my head, and I just can't deal with anybody else on show days up until we step on stage. Once we step on stage, we're rocking. And as I'm talking to my bandmates, is like, I get all this shit in my head. Sorry, and
It's that anxiety of fear of failure. And
it is,
like
but
we
it's
live in a society that is so like trying to play God and judge everyone. It putting I mean, you're literally every time you step on stage, you're putting yourself in a wolf pit. Like
yeah. But that's the thing is I've never had a bad show yet. I mean every place that we've played has been great. But and I'm sure that we'll have. I mean, we've had some technical issues here and there that we've had to work through that was not fun. But you know, as soon as we play that first note, it's like all the stress and everything just melts away, and then I'm in my zone. But it's like the full day leading up to that, I'm a ball of anxiety, and people who are around me kind of know to just leave me alone on show days up until I step on stage. Once I step on stage, man, a first set break, I'm coking and joking and having a good time. It's like, but it's just all the preparation. I've always been very. It's the military in me. Like, in the military, if you're not 15 minutes early for something, then you're late. So, if the boss says we're gonna have a muster, which is basically a meeting at like 7 a.m. where we get everybody in standing in ranks, and then they put out the word. If you're not there by 6:45, you're late. And you better be there by 6:45 in the right uniform with your shave, with all that stuff done. So I take that same idea with the music. So I am very, very hands on, making sure that we've got our sound. We're at the show location on time. We're doing our sound checks and all that stuff. But yeah, that PTSD for me is just all
over
the
analyze.
Yeah, I'm an overanalyzer for sure. So um, the, the the few hours leading up to the show is I wouldn't say it's hell for me, but it's not my favorite time. My favorite time is when we step out on stage. That's when it's all
Right.
good.
And I know we had talked about that like offline before about the military trainings. I was telling you that I was kind of like trained like that when I was in the business in the corporate world. And we ran our offices like straight up like that movie Boiler Room. And so 5 minutes early was on time was late. And if you were late and you were going to distract the meeting, you were going to draw attention to yourself during the meeting, we
Yeah,
threw you at the front of this floor and made you dance. Like we had guys doing the chicken dance or singing My Milkshake Brings All the Boys to the Yard, or just something that's
yeah,
embarrassing that everybody would laugh at, so that they wouldn't it's like you're an independent contractor. You have the decision to either make it on time or check in after the meeting. If you want to embarrass yourself, I'm going to help you. Like, we're not going to, because it's distracting and we're all conducting business and we are all independent contractors. We shouldn't have stuff like that amongst grown adults. And so we had to incorporate that into, and it became fun. And some of the guys were late on purpose just because they were, that's who they were. And we just, we welcomed it on some days. On
Yeah.
some days I felt bad that I had to make them do it, but it was protocol. So get up there, boys.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Exactly.
Now we have two more songs yet to listen to. And the next one I think we were going to check out was When Life Was Simple. I think we kind of talked a little bit about that, wanting to take our country back to a time where we could like tolerate it and wanted to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
proud of living in it.
yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say, so When Life Was Simple is a song about me growing up in just a little, basically small town USA. I grew up on, I think it was when I was 8 years old. My folks moved us from the East Coast over here to the West Coast, and we moved in. My grandparents had a little mom and pop restaurant over on the coast here, and we moved into a little single wide trailer behind their restaurant. And then a couple years later, we moved just about 10 miles further inland into a town called Siletz, Oregon, which is home of the Siletz tribe, of Indian tribe. And I grew up there, and we lived in a double wide trailer in Weaver's Trailer Park, and I got into lots of trouble over the years we were there. We are climbing walnut trees. He had a big walnut orchard, which me and my friends accidentally burned down playing with matches. The trees did recover, but the field was black for a while. And we used to ride our bikes around the gravel and dirt roads and go fishing all the time. And the song is really about, we're adults now, life's hectic, we got all this crazy stuff, but it's like going back to my childhood when all the things I had to worry about was like, going out and playing on the weekends and going and fishing and maybe going to school and stuff like that. But back before all the bills and all the stuff that happens in adult life. So that's what the song's about. And I definitely, it's definitely written from my perspective. Every lyric in there is my childhood. So,
Well, let's give it a spin. When
all
Life Was
righty.
Simple by Jeremy Wayne Mckern.
Growing up in Western Oregon, my folks' castle was a double wide. And I spent most every summer on that riverbank up above the tide, catching cutthroats and crawdads was another time. My mom and dad didn't have much money. Well, I mowed lawns from spending cash. We rarely went to church on Sundays, but my mom, thank God for everything we had. On cooked meal, sitting around the table, wasn't all that bad.
Yes, it sounds like it's definitely got that storytelling vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really into writing story songs. So I liked, one of all my heroes from way back in the day. We're talking like Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash. I really dig the old school style of writing songs that have a story to them. I think that that's missing from some of the new modern pop country where they just, you know, I don't want to badmouth anybody, but it's just really not my vibe. So I like songs that tell a story, and that's part of my childhood story. So
Heck yeah. I know that we were also talking about some stories about like you were mentioning that out there in Oregon they have the donkey rodeos and
well, I
that
wouldn't
kind
call
of
them a donkey rodeo, but they definitely have the donkey races during the rodeo, which I freaking love. It's absolutely hilarious.
yeah, that was kind of like my childhood because I grew up like on the Iowa, Illinois, Missouri border.
Yeah.
And so that was when we really wanted energy. We did rodeos all the time for like 20 years. And so when we really were just kind of rodeoed out and wanted entertainment, we went to the mule races. And that's like some of the funniest stuff because those animals just really don't listen. And I know like one of our shows was they took two guys on two donkeys and they made them hold on to a pair of pantyhose and they had to like complete this obstacle course without falling off or losing grip of the pantyhose and to watch them like being drug one direction with their arms stretched out and them trying to get their horse to turn and go that direction while the horse is trying to run the opposite or donkey whatever, it's not a horse, but
Yeah.
it's absolutely hilarious. What were some of the donkey events that they did out there? Like what was one that made
Well, really,
entertained?
the only real donkey event that they do, I like to go to a couple rodeos out here. One's it's a St. Paul rodeo, which is coming up here in a couple weeks. But yeah, they always announce it beforehand, but they get everybody that's going to be a part of the donkey races on one end, and I think they put them behind the inside the pens where they release like the bull riders and stuff. And they open it up, and it's just a free for all. And we got big donkeys, big kids, little kids. You know, and we got kids grabbing the donkeys' ears and on their back, trying to ride these donkeys across the field. And basically, they have to go across the field. They go around like the barrel racing barrels, and then come back.
Yes.
And it's just absolutely hilarious. People falling on the ground, donkeys turning around, going back or going sideways because they don't listen at all. But yeah, it's always a good time. And for me, you know, actually just about 20 miles from where I live right now, my aunt, my great aunt, she's passed on now, but they had a 300-acre farm out there, and I spent a lot of my summers out there on the farm doing anything from hunting to fishing to shooting off fireworks. But it was 300 acres with vineyards on one end. They had apple orchards, fig orchards. There was actually three ponds on the property where we'd spent a lot of time catching catfish and bluegill and even catching frogs at night. Yeah. A lot of people have kind of an interesting view of Oregon, but Oregon as a state is just gorgeous. It's gorgeous out here, and the weather's great. We just, we have our issues just like anywhere else, but it's a beautiful state for sure. I still love Texas, but I can handle the heat up here a little bit better.
Oh goodness grief, right?
Yeah.
Um, I know that we are about done with our lunchtime window.
Okay.
Um, where can they find you? I know that you're on Spotify, Jeremy Wayne Mckern, Facebook.
Yeah.
Where can
So
they find you? What upcoming shows? Do you have some new releases coming up? What's going on?
I do. So first off, you can find all of our music at our website, which is jwmwhiskeybound.com. I have our new album up on the site. You can listen to it for free right now without having to download it. You just go there and give a listen. And we have shows coming up. We've got 8 shows between now and December, but they're all up here in the north, up here in Oregon, Washington. And then, like I said, I'm planning to try to put together another set of shows down in Texas toward the end of the year, if possible. And my latest single, which is "Whiskey Bound," which I'm hoping you're still going to play, but if not, that's fine.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. On the way out, we're gonna give
All
it.
right. So my latest single, "Whiskey Bound," is out on Spotify and all the streaming platforms now, and it actually goes to radio not this Friday, but next Friday. It's being released out to radio, and it'll be out there in the world to listen to. So
It'll be spinning
also
here on
what
Texas Brew.
and one quick
Make sure you
shout out. I don't want to forget to mention my band because those guys are awesome. Whiskey Bound is my band, and I got Paul Marsh on bass and Justin Thorpe on fiddle and mandolin and all these other instruments. But those guys are amazing musicians and love them to death. So I want to give them a shout out on here. But that's what's happening right now.
We've known Jeremy for what, about a year. I mean, it's been at least a year now.
Yeah,
he messaged us randomly out of the blue and was like, "Hey, I'm not from Texas, but what can you do for Texas artists?" And it wasn't much later, I sent him a little direction, and next thing I know, he's down here gigging in Texas and recording more songs and blowing up on all of his social media. Over 15,000 followers already. Most of your songs have over 15,000 streams on them even.
Yeah. Yeah. My last single, actually, the Take Her Freedom Back, was all organic. I think it's a little over 20,000 streams now, which I think that's pretty good for not doing any promotion other than just going and playing down in Texas and getting it on the radio.
Yeah, absolutely. Good going. So tell us the story behind your newest release song, Whiskey Bound.
Okay, so Whiskey Bound is a fun one. This song morphed so many times before I finally recorded it, but the concept behind the song is, we've all been in a position in our lives where, we kind of want to date and we want to have a significant other, but we're not really ready for it. And this song is really about a little bit of the guilt and all that. And I think it's a little bit humorous, but it's basically like, I love the girl, but I can't stay with the girl because I got to keep moving. And basically, the whiskey's there to help me drown my guilt and sorrow, so to speak. But really listen to the lyrics. I think it's kind of funny, and it's very, very bluegrass, upbeat. I love this song, so I guess that's all I'll say about it. But I love the lyrics and I love the vibe, and I'm really proud of this one. So I hope you guys like it too.
You can find it on his site, find him on all social media platforms, and listen to the song when it hits radio right here on Texas Brew. This is Whiskey Bound.
Been a long, hard drive, but the road still stretches on. Like the memories traveling highways in my mind. That's when I think ahead. Had to go, yeah, now I'm gone. And my warm relic is gonna burn the ties at night. So now I'm whiskey bound. This road can't last forever. When the liquor flows, it's like a needle in my vein. It's a drug I use, only thing that seems to work now. Only thing works better than cocaine. Though she's far behind, some truck ain't turning around. She got me feeling guilty, but I really can't complain. She called and said she loved me, these boots ain't slowing down. And the whiskey's always there to keep me sane. So now I'm whiskey bound. This road can't last